From the outside, Texas looks like just another American state. Wide highways, oil fields, cowboys, and big cities. But the truth is far more powerful. Texas is not just a place on the map. It is a story of rebellion, ambition, survival, and identity. A land that once belonged to native tribes, then Spain, then Mexico, then became its own country, and finally joined the United States on its own terms. Today, we are not just talking about Texas. We are uncovering how this single state shaped America in ways most people never realize. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will never see Texas the same way again. Long before Texas had borders, flags, or cities, it was home to powerful Native American civilizations. Tribes like the Comanche, Apache, Caddo, and Karankawa lived on this land for thousands of years. They hunted, traded, and defended their territory with a deep knowledge of the land that no outsider could match. The Comanche, in particular, became one of the most feared warrior societies in North America. They controlled vast regions of Texas and resisted foreign invasion longer than almost any other tribe. Their dominance shaped early Texas history, even before Europeans fully arrived. In the early 1500s, Spanish explorers reached Texas, claiming it as part of Spain. It's a vast empire, but Texas was never easy to control. The land was harsh, distances were enormous, and native resistance was constant. Spain established missions and forts, trying to convert indigenous people and secure its territory. Many of these missions failed, abandoned to time and conflict. Still, Spain held Texas loosely for centuries, seeing it more as a buffer zone than a valuable colony. It was a frontier land, wild and untamed, a place that resisted easy conquest. Everything changed when Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1821. Texas became part of the new Mexican nation to strengthen the region and create a buffer against both native tribes and the United States. Mexico invited American settlers to move into Texas. These settlers, led by figures like Stephen F. Austin, were given land under one condition. They were expected to follow Mexican laws. This included becoming Mexican citizens, converting to Catholicism, and, crucially, abiding by Mexico's ban on slavery. At first, the arrangement seemed to work, but over time, the cultural and political gap between the settlers and the Mexican government grew wider. Tensions began to simmer. American settlers far outnumbered Mexican citizens in the region, and they often ignored the laws they had agreed to follow. They brought slaves with them, maintained their own culture, and increasingly demanded more autonomy from the central government in Mexico City. The Mexican government, fearing it was losing control of its northern territory, tightened its grip. It sent more troops, enforced its laws more strictly, and tried to halt further American immigration. But it was too late. The seeds of revolution had been sown. Texas was slowly becoming a powder keg, ready to explode. By the 1830s, conflict was unavoidable. The Texas Revolution erupted in 1835. What started as small skirmishes quickly escalated into a full-blown war for independence. Small groups of determined settlers took on the professional Mexican army, led by the powerful General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. The Battle of the Alamo became a legendary symbol of this struggle. For 13 days, a small band of fewer than 200 Texas fighters held out against thousands of Mexican soldiers in a small mission in San Antonio. Though they were ultimately defeated and every defender was killed, their sacrifice fueled the rebellion. The cry, "Remember the Alamo," became a rallying cry for freedom across Texas. Just weeks later, that cry was answered. At the Battle of San Jacinto, a surprise attack led by General Sam Houston routed the Mexican army in just 18 minutes. General Santa Anna himself was captured, and in exchange for his life, he signed a treaty recognizing Texas's independence against all odds. The small, rebellious territory had defeated a major nation. Texas became its own country for nearly 10 years. From 1836 to 1845, Texas existed as an independent republic. This is a unique distinction that no other U.S. state can claim. The Republic of Texas had its own president, its own army and navy, its own currency, and its own foreign relations. It was a sovereign nation on the world stage, negotiating treaties with countries like France and Great Britain. But independence came with immense problems. The new nation faced massive debt from the war, constant threats from Mexico, which refused to truly accept its independence, and deep internal political struggles. The dream of a Lone Star nation was proving difficult to sustain. Eventually, Texas made a pivotal choice. It sought to join the United States. In 1845, it was annexed, but only under specific conditions negotiated by Texas leaders. In a deal unlike any other, Texas kept control of all its public lands, giving it a massive economic advantage for generations to come. It also retained the right to divide itself into as many as 5 separate states if it ever chose to. A right it has never exercised, but which speaks to the independent spirit of the deal. The annexation of Texas immediately triggered the Mexico-American War. The United States and Mexico clashed over the disputed border, and the resulting conflict redrew the entire map of North America. After the American victory, Mexico ceded vast territories, including what is now California, Arizona, and New Mexico, shaping the modern American Southwest. Texas's entry into the Union had directly led to America's westward expansion to the Pacific Ocean. But new challenges were on the horizon. The issue of slavery, which had been a source of tension from the beginning, became a defining crisis when the American Civil War began in 1861. Texas, a slaveholding state, seceded from the Union and joined the Confederacy. The war devastated the state's economy, and after the Confederacy's defeat, Texas entered a long and difficult period of reconstruction and hardship. The late 1800s brought dramatic transformation. The arrival of railroads connected the isolated state to the rest of America, opening up new markets and opportunities. The cattle industry exploded, giving birth to the iconic American cowboy. Massive cattle drives from Texas to Kansas railheads became legendary, and the cowboy myth began to define Texas for the entire world. But the real turning point, the event that would change everything, came on a January morning in 1901. A drilling rig at a place called Spindletop, near Beaumont, struck oil. It wasn't just an oil strike. It was a gusher of epic proportions, shooting oil over 100 feet into the air. Overnight, Texas changed forever. Spindletop ushered in the Texas oil boom. Oil turned small, dusty towns into booming cities, and made Texas one of the most powerful economic forces on the planet. This newfound oil wealth reshaped politics, industry, and global influence. Texas energy fueled America's factories, its wars, and its suburban expansion. Cities like Houston and Dallas grew at an astonishing pace. Houston became the undisputed global energy capital, while Dallas emerged as a major financial and business hub. Even the state capital, Austin, once a quiet university town, began its transformation into a major political and cultural center. The stage was no longer defined by cotton and cattle, but by black gold. During the 20th century, Texas played a major role in projecting American power. As the Cold War intensified, NASA chose Houston as the home of its manned spacecraft center, now the Johnson Space Center. Mission control was in Texas. This placed the state at the very center of the space race. When astronauts first landed on the moon, the first words from the lunar surface were spoken to Houston. The famous line, "Houston, the Eagle has landed," cemented Texas's role in one of humanity's greatest achievements. At the same time, military bases expanded across the state, from Fort Hood to Lackland Air Force Base, reinforcing Texas as a critical backbone of U.S. national defense. Texas culture grew just as powerful as its economy. The state's unique blend of Southern, Western, and Mexican influences created a vibrant cultural landscape. Texas music, from blues legends like Lightning Hopkins to country icons like Willie Nelson and modern hip-hop artists, flourished and gained international acclaim. Food became a core part of the state's identity, with Texas barbecue, chili, and Tex-Mex cuisine gaining worldwide fame. And sports turned into something of a religion. High school football stadiums in small Texas towns often rival professional arenas in size and passion, symbolizing just how deeply competition and community pride run in the Texan way of life. Politically, Texas became one of the most influential states in America. Its sheer size, rapidly growing population, and massive economy gave it enormous power in national elections and in the halls of Congress. Texas leaders, from Lyndon B. Johnson to the Bush family, have shaped U.S. policy on everything from energy and immigration to trade and foreign affairs. The state's long 2,000-kilometer border with Mexico has also made it the epicenter of the immigration debates that continue to define American politics today. What happens in Texas often has ripple effects across the entire nation. Modern Texas is a land of fascinating contrasts. It is home to some of the world's most advanced technology companies, a burgeoning renewable energy sector, and incredible scientific innovation. At the same time, it holds tightly to its traditions of independence, self-reliance, and that famous Texas swagger. Companies from Silicon Valley and Wall Street are now investing heavily in cities like Austin, Dallas, and Houston. Millions of people from across the country and the world move to Texas every year, drawn by economic opportunity and a lower cost of living. Yet the spirit of the Lone Star Republic, the idea of Texas as a place apart, remains incredibly strong. So, Texas is much more than a state. It is an idea built on struggle, ambition, and defiance. It is a place that once stood alone as its own country, fought against empires, and ultimately reshaped a nation. From the native warriors who first defended this land to the astronauts who reached for the stars, from the oil fields that fueled the world to the tech labs that are building the future, Texas continues to shape our world in profound ways. This is why we tell these stories on World in Focus. Because history is not just about the past, it explains the present and gives us clues about the future. If this story changed the way you see Texas, share it with someone who loves history, and let us know in the comments which state or region should we explore next. Your perspective helps keep World in Focus alive. Thanks for watching.